Hey, it's Declan Ryan from whoisdeclanryan.com, and we've come to chapter 12 of Maxwell Maltz's Psycho-Cybernetics. Now, this is imaginatively titled Do-It-Yourself Tranquilizers That Bring Peace of Mind. And one of the strategies, which I'm going to go over here, had a remarked effect on me when I read this book for the first time 2 years ago. But there are two other strategies that are really, really good. I'm not going to cover everything that he says in the book, because as I said, this is my personal take on the chapter. Okay, so the first one was what he calls the let the telephone ring exercise. And because we're constantly bombarded by different things, whether it be the telephone or emails or things that require or demand instant response. Now in the workplace, sometimes those are absolutely necessary, but frequently they're not necessarily, it's not urgent to reply to them immediately. For example, if you're at home watching a movie or you're having a relaxed quiet time, the phone rings, what's your first reaction? You answer it straight away. Most people certainly do. So in this exercise actually suggests that you delay response. You let the phone ring. Now this might be a bit difficult to do first off, because for me, letting the phone ring is it's destroying your tranquility anyway, because it's ringing and it's ringing. But he uses that as an analogy for lots of other things. It's an analogy for the kind of automatic response which we are triggered into doing. A better response to that would be you hear the ding of the arrival of an email in your computer, and you go to it straight away. Or you get a text message. How many people ignore a text message as soon as it arrives? You hear the ding on your phone or the buzz, and you go and you see what it is. So his prescription is just delaying that. It doesn't have to be answered straight away. It doesn't have to be tended to straight away. And along with that is a delaying of emotional response to other things. For example, anger, or responding to an argument in an angry state. Now, if you delay responding to something, even just by a few seconds, you take the fire out of it. I used to be a massive firebrand with my my brothers and sisters, especially one of my brothers, and we used to get into some very heated arguments. And once I actually started practicing delaying my response and just thinking, rather than just going straight at all guns blazing with any answer I could think of, which invariably turns out to be the wrong one, I just pull back. Just a few seconds, it doesn't have to be for the count of 10. And then I come out with a much more measured response. And you can actually do that in the same way with road rage. If people actually delayed their response straight from the immediate one, it diffuses 50, 60, 70% of the actual fire of the situation. And you can be a bit more calm about looking at the actual facts and then addressing them accordingly. Now, the other thing that he does is he refers to the clear the calculator. Now, the clear the calculator exercise is really amazing, because a lot of us, we go around from task to task, and if we haven't got a previous task done, then we're going into another task with the baggage of the previous task still going around in our head. If you've got a number of things to do during the course of the day, then you're jumping from one thing to another. Now, what he suggests is similar to a calculator. If you're doing a calculation on a calculator, before moving on to the next problem, you'll press C, won't you, to clear the calculator. Because logically, you can't calculate a new problem with the same results from the previous problem. That transfers also to emotional situations as well. You can't emotionally tackle an emotional situation if you've got carrying over emotions from a previous situation. So this exercise is designed to clear the mind, just like a calculator, so that you can focus and give 100% attention to the problem that you're working on. Productivity goes up, your clearness of thinking goes up, and you remain more tranquil because you're not wrestling with, oh, what was that? And trying to do two things or three things at once, because your subconscious is still going through working out problems to a previous thing. So so that is one of the amazing things as well. And the third thing, which is of tremendous value, is partly covered in previous exercises, but this is a much smaller, a much quicker sort of solution to the stresses and the constant stimulation of day-to-day living, whether it be responding to work colleagues or emotional situations, or the email or the phone or the Facebook, or a whole mountain of other things. If you go to what he calls your foxhole in the mind, I like that analogy because it kind of it's kind of a very, it evokes a kind of a very sort of comfy kind of a place, which is away from everybody, which is away from everything, and it's just you. And he recommends that, even though he calls it foxhole of the mind, he doesn't paint a picture of a foxhole. You go to your quiet room. Now, the analogy that he draws, the imagery that he draws, is that you have to climb steps to this room. And I think that's particularly powerful, because if you were just to imagine going into a room, then it would be different. You'd be, you know, you could still probably hear the racket which is going on outside. But with climbing steps, you say to yourself, I'm now going to spend just a little bit in my private, in my quiet room. And then as you're climbing the steps, I'm now climbing the steps to my room. And then you see yourself opening the door to your room. You close the door. There's all your favourite things in there. You can create your own details. And he certainly says that it's important that you create details in there. That way, every time you go to your private room, you can focus on those details. But the key message here is that there's absolutely nothing can reach you in your private room. There's no telephone, there's no email, nothing needs to be responded to, and there's no hurry. So even if you only spend 10 minutes, maybe twice a day or even once a day, the effect psychologically this will have on you is tremendous. I think there was a really good quote at the start of this chapter. By Charles Mayo, which the founder of the Mayo Clinic. We don't have it here in the UK, but we know of it in the States. And it says, worry affects the circulation, the heart, the glands, the whole nervous system, and profoundly affects health. So by going to your foxhole in the mind, this has a tremendous effect on just calming you down, letting your body cope, escape from all the constant sensory bombardment that you go through during the course of the day. So this will have a tremendous effect on your health, mentally and physically. And so, you know, by doing these exercises and by following what he says, there really is, you know, the most tremendous value to it. So I hope you've enjoyed this, my own take of chapter 12. If this is the first video you're seeing of this series, go back to chapter 1 and follow it through there. If you're reading the book, then leave me any comments that you'd like. I really like to hear from people. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to my channel. In the meantime, I look forward to seeing you in chapter 13. Meantime, make it a great day.